show tonight will focus on the importance of children learning to prepare and cook food. Unfortunately, there are many parents, due to leading very busy lives, who opt to buy fast food and pre-packed food instead of fresh. This, of course, can lead to child obesity. So it's time for parents and schools to take this problem seriously and start making some much needed changes. Now, my guests tonight are Fiona Hamilton-Fairley, CEO and Principal of the Kids Cookery School, who is really passionate about changing children's diet. And she'll also be showing us how easy it is to make healthy lunch packs for kids and showing us some healthy snacks too. Also joining me will be parenting coach Sharon Norton, who'll be talking about a parent's role in setting a good example for kids to change their eating habits. Now, if you want to get in touch during this show, don't forget you can tweet Chrissy B Show, Facebook, The Chrissy B Show. You can also email chris@chrissybshow.tv. So to introduce our first guest, Fiona Hamilton-Fairley, let's take a look at this video.
What I enjoy about teaching kids is they're very enthusiastic, they're very open-minded, they're willing to try new things, and they're like sponges at this age, and they really absorb a lot of information.
What's the difference, do you think, between a batter and a dough?
A batter is runny and a dough is solid.
Excellent, good girl. Okay, so the consistency, okay, how wet it is will be very different.
The Kids Cookery School was started because my eldest son went off to primary school and I learnt that he wasn't going to learn to cook, and I didn't want that.
And what do you promote at this school?
Oh, we promote healthy eating, particularly foods low in fat, sugar and salt. Everything is fresh, everything's made from scratch, and it's used to be home economics, but it doesn't exist anymore. Cooking is a life skill. Every child, even as young as 3 years old, should learn about cooking, about the skill, why it matters. We need to eat fresh food, we need to keep fit for life, and the only way to keep fit for life is to learn to cook.
I think the hygiene is incredibly important. It's always the grounding in where we start the sessions. From that, it's about having fun, it's about enjoying it, not eating fruits and vegetables just because you're told to, but because they're tasty and they're delicious.
Why do you enjoy coming to the Kids Cookery School?
Because I love cooking.
What is your favorite dish?
Pizza. The pumpkin. Because it smells so good. The fingers.
Is it because you like decorating it? And do you help your mum to cook at home as well?
Yes.
Why do you think cooking is important?
Because if you didn't know how to cook, you can't cook things to eat. So if they were raw, you might not be able to cook them.
What is it about the Kids Cookery School that they enjoy?
Oh, everything. They like just learning about healthy eating. Talk to me about it in the supermarket.
We're trying to get them off the junk food, off fast food, off snacks, all of the foods which are too readily available.
It's a good age to try and get kids involved in cooking because, as you can see, that they've used lots of lovely colourful fruits and vegetables, which is obviously clearly better for them in their diet, and they're more likely to eat it if they've had a hand in cooking as well.
How adorable, and I'm sure most of those kids can actually cook better than some adults nowadays. Fiona, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
You so much for joining us. I think it's wonderful what you're doing there. But
Thank you.
Tell us first of all about your cookery background.
I went to school and I wasn't particularly academic. I loved doing sport, art, and got into cooking. In those days I was allowed to do cooking, and you know, it was an exam. That's really how it all started, and I ended up going to catering college and becoming a chef, and I've always been passionate about food. I've always been passionate about what you eat, how it looks, having fun, sitting around the table, socialising, everything to do with food.
Yeah. Now, were you always sort of interested in food and children, or did that come later?
No, that came much later. I mean, professionally, I catered for weddings, for christenings, for, in the old days, directors' dining rooms. You know, it was good fine dining. Only later on did I get interested in teaching, because I felt that I had a skill and I really wanted to pass it on. So I started teaching in adult education, mainly sort of more elderly people. And then I sort of did singles as well, so blokes who hadn't actually found the oven at the end of the kitchen. And then went on to children later on.
Okay, so how did the idea come? You mentioned your son on the video there.
Yes.
That he wasn't learning how to cook, or you discovered that he wasn't going to learn how to cook in school. So what happened? What did you think when you heard that?
I was really shocked. It was the beginning of the computer, you know, sort of the whole thing sort of exploded. And I found out that in my son's school, they were going to turn the kitchen, or what was the kitchen, which was home ec, into the computer room, because all the benches were at the right level, everything seemed to work, you know, had the electricity, had everything. So cooking just sort of disappeared and vanished.
See, I didn't actually know this until I sort of saw the script and I was speaking to you, because I thought they still taught these things in schools. I was quite shocked.
It's
when
very
I heard that.
rare.
Yeah,
it's
so I
very
used to
rare.
I used to love home economics. We used to learn so much. You know, just I remember taking things home to my parents, and they were so proud of me because I was managing to cook. So and it was lovely. It was really nice. So I was quite sort of sad to hear that doesn't really happen anymore.
Yeah, well, it's a disaster. It really is. I mean, okay, I understand computers are important, but they're not nearly as important as the skill of cooking. You know, and it is a skill. It must be learned. You know, it is dangerous just to throw a child into the kitchen and say, get cooking. They can't. They have to learn to prepare stuff. They have to learn to be safe. You know, even a kettle boiling is dangerous. So, you know, it is a skill. But we shouldn't have ever taken it away, because there are so many elements. You've got maths in there, you've got geography, you've got history, you've got culture, you know, you've got everything. And it's creative, you know, you can make food look beautiful.
Why do you think things are changing so much nowadays, and a lot of parents now are not even cooking sort of home-cooked meals at home as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's serious. We've got probably 2 generations of parents who do not cook at all.
That's awful, isn't it?
So they're living off ready meals. They are looking to the supermarkets to give them the kind of foods that they want, which is having an impact on our health. Lots and lots of foods, obviously in packets, lots of convenience foods, very little fresh food. And the bottom line is, if we don't have fresh food, then we're not getting the vitamins, the minerals and the nutrients we need.
Now, some people will say, but fresh is, you know, buying fresh is too expensive. I can't afford that. What would you say?
Well, I'd say, where are your priorities? I mean, I've got kids.
I like that answer. It's a very good answer.
I mean, you know, how important are your kids? How important is food? How important is it to wake up in the morning and feel fit and want to get out there and have energy? If you're on the wrong diet, then you don't have the energy, you don't feel fit. So, you know, if it's 150 pounds of trainer on your feet, or going to the supermarket to buy good food, it doesn't have to be that expensive.
People can afford it, can't they?
Of course they can.
It's just an excuse, isn't it, sometimes?
But you need to buy in season. You need to buy sensibly. But the bottom line is, you know, if your children are off sick all the time, you know, that's going to cost you one way or another, whether you're going to work or not, or finding, you know, it's.
You know, you're bringing up things that I didn't even think about. That's so true as well, because, you know, you're trying to scrimp and save on one hand, on the wrong sort of side of things, but then you end up paying a lot more out on the other side.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, our children's health and their well-being, and they're just everything about them, you know, just to look at them and see that they are radiant, that, you know, they look healthy is just so important. And that is down to diet, what they drink and exercise.
Well, I think if you're going to have kids, you're not going to look after them. It's better not to have them in the first place if you're not going to make that effort, isn't it? Because otherwise you're just going to end up with very unhealthy kids.
Well, it's true. It's true.
So tell us, how many children have you actually taught at the school?
Well, a bit of a rough estimate, but somewhere in the region of 32,000.
Wow. That's amazing.
So there's not much I haven't seen or done with children.
And you've only been going for 13 years, haven't
We're
you?
coming up 13,
Yeah.
we're going to have our 13th birthday, which is very exciting.
That's
we're going to be
lovely.
teenagers.
Okay, so tell us a bit more about the school, because you don't go, because it's a charity, isn't it?
It is a
Yeah,
registered
and
charity. We primarily work with disadvantaged children, poverty, disadvantage, special needs is one of our big focuses. A lot of children who are out of education for one reason or another, and they tend to be really interested in food, often want to go into the catering world. They're very creative, and they've been put in an environment, an education environment, where they're not succeeding, and often their behaviour, you know, goes, they feel, well, they feel a bit down, really. So we try to pick them up, and we try to make them feel good.
Do any like inspiring stories come to mind of some of the kids that have been helped? You must have
Yeah,
loads.
hundreds.
Yeah.
But I think one of the best ones, we had a young lad come to us. He was about 14, and he wanted to be the best footballer in the world. And that's how he put it. He wanted to be. He was on a terrible diet, and he was finding at half time that he was flagging. You know, he wasn't actually making it, and yet he was the top scorer, and he was brilliant and everything. And we found out that he was living on you know, sort of, yeah, you don't really want to know, but it was chocolate and crisps and Mars bars and just really junk food, and he would be going home at night and eating hamburgers and stuff. And he asked if he could learn to cook. And he learned this word, to carbo pack, you know, to pack on the carbohydrates. And anyway, he learned very quickly with us. He did brilliantly. And he came back to me a few weeks later, and I said, "How are you doing?"
Yeah.
And he said, "Oh, absolutely brilliantly." He said, "I'm absolutely fantastic." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I scored 30 goals in one match." And he was man of the match. He was absolutely over the moon. He was absolutely... And he said, "But there is a problem." And I said, "What's that?" He said, "I can't go to sleep. I'm absolutely buzzing." So we had to tone down the carbohydrates a bit. But, you know, we turned him round, and he realised that to be an athlete and to be somebody as, you know, sporty as him, he needed to be on the right diet.
So that's a good selling point, isn't it, for a lot of these kids that want to get into athletics and stuff? Because a lot of them, sometimes I see like kids queuing up to buy sort of, you know, that fried chicken at lunchtime, thinking, can't they eat anything else?
There's more to that, though, isn't there? Because, you know, dance and your skin and your body and everything about you. You know, it doesn't matter if you're the best athlete in the world, just to be fit, just to be able to run for the bus. You know, it's important.
It is, definitely. So, as it's a charity, how can people help if they want to?
Well, please, you know, look at our website. We've put on a lot of the things we're going to be doing tonight. We've got fundraisers there. We're going to be doing stuff over Christmas with biscuits and cakes and, you know, baking, because even baking at home, you know, is better than buying, you know, cupcakes and biscuits from the shops. It's lower in fat, sugar and salt, obviously. You can help us in many, many different ways. And your money will go towards helping children in need, which are children who can't afford to come to us. And it means that we can get out there and teach more children this really vital life skill.
That's brilliant. And what about parents? What would you say to parents that maybe say, you know, I don't have time to do this, I'd love to be able to fit it into my busy schedule, but I can't. You know, what would you say to them?
Well, I mean, I do...
That's an excuse, probably.
I do sympathise, but I'm also busy. I have 3 children. I work 6 days a week, but my priority is, you know, food, good food. It doesn't have to take lots and lots of time. It just has to be fresh. It can be simple. And I think everybody joining in, I mean, the kitchen is a great place to have a chat, have some communication, you know, to actually talk about things that, you know, you don't normally talk about while you chop up the carrots, or have a little sob with the onions. You know, these are good things. So parents who say they won't, I'm sorry.
Maybe they need to come and do the cookery class as well, because maybe they don't actually, like I said, there's 2 generations that don't know how to cook, so maybe they need to have a cookery class, and they might enjoy it and then pass that on to their kids as well.
And I think a lot of parents feel very inadequate. You know, they might be a bit sort of low about it, or just feeling, you know, awkward about it. Well, learn to cook with your kids. You know, be brave. Whether
That'd
it's
be nice.
yeah,
Nice
just
bonding experience as
exactly.
well.
And you know, it's fun to learn things together, and it's not a bad thing. You know, not to be able to cook, because you know it's a great thing when you can.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's a confidence thing, very much so. So parents out there, you know what? Forget the excuses.
Get
you know,
cooking,
get cooking.
learn as
Stop
well.
watching the television. Stop, you know, playing with the iPad, and you know, just get out there and cook.
Definitely. So after on the last part of the show, you're going to be showing us some simple things that you can make. And I have to say, the table looks, every stuff on the table looks absolutely delicious, making us very peckish here. But it's all very simple, and you made everything yourself, didn't you? The pies and the stuff, and yeah,
everything was made this morning very quickly. I didn't have much time. Literally thrown together in a perfectly good way. Everything is readily available in the shops. You know, it's all fresh. It's simple. It looks appetizing, which is so important, particularly for a child.
You're going to see soon
in a lunchbox. And it just goes to prove that, you know, it can really be very easily done. Definitely. But I do sympathise with, you know, parents and carers who suffer from sort of anxiety and think, oh,
but you'll be showing them how simple it is, won't you? Okay, so that'll be later on. I look forward to that. Okay, so after the break as well, we'll be meeting Sharon Norton again, a parenting coach, who'll be telling us how we can use different tactics to encourage children to eat well. So join us then. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show. Now I have the lovely Sharon Norton with us, parenting coach. Hello.
Hi, Chrissy.
Thanks
for inviting me back.
Good to have you back. Now, Sharon was on one of our first shows, weren't you? What were we talking about then?
Things never to say to your kids.
Yes, that's it. A very important topic as well. So this is obviously equally important. You've heard what Fiona was saying. What did you think about the things that she was talking about?
Oh, I'd certainly endorse completely what she was saying. And the skills of learning to cook good basic foods are gradually being eroded out. So it is really important for us actually as parents to, you know, to teach our children those valuable life skills. And it can be really good fun too.
Yeah, definitely. So tell us about how parents can actually change things around. If, you know, maybe the kids aren't sort of into cooking or they're a bit fussy with their food, what can parents do themselves to get children into it?
Well, I think firstly, it's really important not to underestimate the pressures that parents and carers are under now. You know, they're juggling busy lives, busy jobs, pressures of the modern family, you know, huge pressures on us now. And so, you know, with those pressures and the exciting allure and temptation from supermarkets to sort of save us, so-called, save us time by buying convenience foods and cheap foods and junk foods. All of those things are compounded into where we are now, which is not having, you know, good skills around cooking. Having said that, you know, there are a lot of things that we can do, and Fiona's right, it's really important that we think about the lifestyle choices that we're making now, because they will all impact on the future eating habits and the health of our children. So it is really important. So there are lots of things that we can do, and, you know, lots of issues that parents face around food, because it can be very emotive, food generally.
Okay, so what maybe, because you have, how many children do you have?
I have two.
You have
two
children,
boys.
2 boys. How old are they?
13 and 10.
Okay, so how did you get them involved in sort of healthy eating and stuff like that? What were the tricks that you used? We can say it now because they're a bit more grown up, aren't they? So.
Well, I think having a love of food generally and enjoying the social side of food is really important. I think sometimes we can take a leaf out of the continent and Spain and France and, you know, lots of European countries. They're focused very much on food being something to enjoy and share socially. Yeah. So probably if we can think back, some of our best memories are based around the food table. So, you know, lots of good memories being created there. So I'm not suggesting that, you know, we change our culture and lifestyles, but it is important perhaps to make food more enjoyable by, you know, sort of wrapping it up in sort of social times too. So where my children were concerned, I was very fortunate to marry a man who is a very good cook.
Oh, that's nice.
So they have a great role model. So one of the things is good role modelling. And so he has encouraged the children to cook. But we did fun things like taste testing, you know, close your eyes and test this and see what you think it is, you know. And started off with very basic foods like grapes, and then, you know, sort of progressed up to something a little bit more adventurous. And just recently we had a family come dine with me competition.
Oh,
so that was
nice.
really good fun. And each week, you know, one of us, it was our turn, and we had a go at right down from producing the menu and the theme for the evening and laying the table out and everything. And that was really good fun, and the boys really enjoyed that. So they enjoy cooking too.
Oh, that's lovely. Now, what about children? Because when I was quite younger, believe it or not, I didn't really like to eat much, which was like quite shocking because of the way I am now. I love food, and restaurants and stuff is my favourite thing as well. But I never used to eat, and my dad would actually literally have to force me to eat. He would sit me down at the dinner table and say, you're not leaving until you finish everything in your plate. And sometimes it was quite healthy stuff though. It was like sort of, some things that I hated are like some greens and like these black-eyed peas with olive oil and stuff, some Greek stuff that they used to do. And it was all, I just remember it being awful because I just did not want to eat. And I couldn't wait to sort of leave the dinner table and go and play with my crayons and stuff. But it was quite, they had such a hard time, and I would eat because he literally used to sit there with me and would not let me leave the table. But I'm just imagining parents, and later on I loved food, so that was quite good. It worked on me anyway, but it's maybe not the best way. But how would you maybe encourage children that, you know, maybe you're worried, as a parent you're worried because your child doesn't seem to be eating enough? What can you do?
Well, I think as our families sort of grow up and evolve, there can sometimes be sort of three main areas. We can have a young baby who started off trying all foods, eating all foods and eating them without any problems. And then all of a sudden they turn into a little toddler who has found their own independence and starts refusing food. So that can be a really big issue for a parent. And often, you know, battles over food are won by children and lost by adults. So, you know, I wouldn't recommend, you know, sort of turning mealtimes into a battleground because there's then a lot of negative memories associated with food. So really sort of making the mealtimes fun, not forcing children to eat, making the whole thing an enjoyable experience. And remember, you know, particularly for young children, when decisions and choices about every aspect of their lives are made for them, the one thing that they can choose is what goes in their mouths. And so giving them a little bit of choice around, you know, what they might want to eat. Not too many choices. We don't want to sort of be running a canteen in our kitchen. But, you know, it might be maybe for dessert, we offer a healthy dessert and we may offer fruit. So we might say, OK, which fruit would you like? Would you like an apple or an orange? And so they feel as if they're actually
so then you're not actually saying to them, would you like a piece of fruit?
Because then they can say no.
So you actually give them like, would you like one or the other? So they
yeah,
kind of forced into it, but without realising.
Yeah,
right?
it's a little bit of trickery, if you like. And
yeah.
you know, and also sort of using other things like, you know, if you're not feeling they're eating enough, you can say, okay, let's just have 2 more mouthfuls. What will it be? Carrots or peas. And again, they feel as if they've got a little bit of control over what's happening, but you're encouraging them to eat that way. Not overloading their plates. We tend to overload our children's plates. And a big plate of food for a child can be very off-putting. For some adults, it can be very off-putting. And again, we have hungry days and non-hungry days. And our children are no different to us. So
I have hungry days every day. Am I not normal?
And food's very emotive, isn't it?
Yes, it is, yeah, I suppose. So I actually read something that you sent through as well about that you shouldn't reward children with food. Can you tell us about that? Because I thought that was a really, really good point.
Yeah. We know that there's a lot of emotion attached to eating, and we want to have good experiences around food. And you know, one of the things I would certainly say is not to force a child to finish their plates. Often they know when they're full, and so what we're doing is we're imprinting.
But how come? So just to interrupt you there, like they're full for food, but then they want biscuits or something afterwards. How do you?
Well, there's always room for something sweet and nice afterwards, even as an adult, isn't there?
Yeah, no.
So if we've had a lovely meal and then they come round with a sweet trolley, we just find that little bit of extra room. So, yeah.
So they are quite full then if they do say they're full.
Yeah. I think, you know, I mean, have a reasonable idea of what you think is, you know, you expect your child to eat. So you know, sort of looking at that aspect of things. And sorry,
I asked you, sorry, it was my
I've gone off
fault.
on tangent there. Sorry,
I
Chrissy.
asked you about rewarding
Yes, of
kids,
course.
yeah.
So rewarding our children. So to use food as a reward is not something I would recommend. What tends to happen is that if our children fall over and hurt themselves, or they feel upset, or we want to sort of reward them maybe for doing well, we give them sometimes a food reward. And then what this does is it imprints in us, if we want to feel good about ourselves, if we're feeling a bit fed up or sad, we reach for food to help us to feel better. So that connection with food and feeling down can sometimes be a negative thing.
Yeah.
So non-food rewards, if we're praising our children, is much better. So for example, we might reward a child, and you've got some reward charts here actually. So for younger children, we can have sort of reward charts around sitting nicely at the table.
Yeah, let's have a look.
So sitting nicely at the table, maybe trying a new food, or a piece of fruit or whatever, and using.
So I sat nicely at the table. I ate a piece of fruit today. I finished my dinner. I used my fork and spoon. Okay.
So,
that's nice.
basic things for younger children there. And rather than using food as a reward, rewarding them with a nice dessert, what we can do is reward them perhaps with having a friend over for tea.
Right.
So it's connected to the idea of eating, but it's not a food reward. So, much better to have those sort of links rather than linking it to food itself.
All right. And you brought a few things as well. Can you tell us about the things that you brought?
Yes, yeah. And Fiona's going to show some lovely things later on, but to emphasise, it is just so easy to cook with our children. And whilst you're cooking and having fun, you're not only creating great life skills and good connections with food, but you're also producing valuable life skills. And then I've just brought a selection of books really from the library, sort of around cooking and children's nutrition. And so they're very easy to get in the library. We don't have to go out and buy books. Yeah. But they take, some of these recipes just take sort of 15 minutes to prepare, little pizzas and stuff, and making it colourful and fun. And teaching our children, let's say, those skills, not just around cooking, but around weighing and measuring. So you're teaching mathematics and counting and just generally...
so important, isn't
absolutely,
it?
and being together and having fun.
Yeah.
And when older children are concerned, of course, to teach them about liking themselves, what they put in their bodies.
Yeah.
So really important. And all those external influences where our teenagers are concerned, the media tells you to look in a certain way, act in a certain way, eat certain foods. And, young girls as well as boys, we're seeing an increase in lots of eating disorders.
Yeah.
So, media and that has a lot to answer for. So teaching them good food, learning how to read the labels, just because it's low fat, it can often be high in salt and sugar, which, I'm sure Fiona's well aware of and teaches at her school too.
What are the cutters for there, the pastry cutters?
The cutters. Well, a great way of making food fun, particularly when children are small, is to be creative.
Right.
And using colours and textures, going on a food journey, for example, sort of let's go around the world, and this week we're going to visit a particular country and we're going to try a food from that country.
Yeah,
so, making it fun.
Yeah.
And what is on the children's plates will dictate whether or not, if it's pleasing to the eye, they're more likely to eat it. So little cutters to make, not just, these are biscuit cutters, but not just to make biscuits, but, to make sandwiches look a little bit more interesting. So we've got some little people here.
So cute.
And some stars.
Actually, I'd like to eat sandwiches that shape as well. I think it's just for the kids.
It's great fun. And bears, the bear one's lovely.
So cute.
So, so some, really nice ideas just to make it more interesting and fun and appealing to the eye.
Oh. Okay, Sharon, tell us as well about the importance of breakfast, because sometimes kids don't want to eat first thing in the morning, and it's like a real sort of hard time for parents to try and get kids to eat in the morning. Why is it so important?
Well, I think as adults we can be just as guilty, and being a good role model means we have to set standards around what we eat and when we're eating. And breakfast is the most important meal of the day. And as I say, in our busy lives we rush out to work and we often miss it, and that's where our children are learning about food. So to encourage our children to eat breakfast is not just a good sort of start to the day, but it also increases their sort of learning. So a good breakfast will increase concentration, it will increase or lower irritability and dictate around sort of mood swings and all of that type of thing. So really important. And again, you know, if parents are working and they haven't got time to set a good breakfast up in the morning for their children, then a lot of schools now are doing breakfast clubs and things.
Oh, do they?
So, you know, to go into breakfast club, there's that social element of having breakfast with their friends, and at least they're starting school in the morning with a good breakfast, healthy breakfast in their tummies.
That's
so
lovely. Okay.
Increase their learning.
Sharon, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That's lovely. Okay, so we are going to have Fiona back with us as well, who's going to be showing us how easy it is to make healthy lunch packs for kids and showing us some healthy snacks, because, you know, a lot of sometimes Sharon, people give like kids like the chocolate bars and the, you know, all the unhealthy stuff, the crisps and stuff. Or you don't have to, kids don't have to be eating that kind of stuff, do they?
No. The 3 C's: chocolate, chips, crisps. You know, not good to eat really.
Yeah.
And healthy snacks, you know, have them chopped up ready in the fridge. So rather than reaching for the chocolate bar, they can reach for some chopped up carrot, for example.
So we're going to be seeing more of that. Thank you so much. And we're going to be seeing Fiona again after this break. And if you want to get in touch at any point, you can email chris@chrissybshow.tv. And if you want more information about this show, chrissybshow.tv. Welcome back, and I'm back with Fiona, who's brought along some lovely healthy things to eat for children and to have as snacks, right Fiona?
Yep, absolutely.
So it looks absolutely lovely, the way you've laid it out. I mean, the tablecloth you brought along as well, it's very colourful. So tell us about some of the stuff that you've got here.
Well, I just thought about, you know, parents have busy lives and there's lots of excuses why we don't cook. I made all of this morning.
It smells lovely, by the way, I have to say.
But colourful is important, and lunch boxes can be a little bit stressful for children because they're rushed. You know, they've got to sit down. There's a lot of peer pressure. There's a lot of what's in your lunchbox and what's in mine and things like that. So if you can get your kids involved in the lunchbox before they go to school, you know, either the night before or even early in the morning, great.
Oh, that's
but
nice,
lots of parents will say that's not possible. But even if you show them what you're putting into the lunchbox, I mean, the frightening thing about these, well, lunchboxes in general, is most of it ends up in the bin. Yeah, the children are pressurised, they've got to eat quickly. Some of the food is not the right size, so they struggle. So really a whole apple is actually, I mean, I know these are tiny apples, but, you know, if you've got wobbly teeth, you know, the last thing you want to do is bite in.
Yeah.
So, you know, things that you can do, which is here, you know, you can actually, you know, make it easy. They don't have to peel it. And they might be, you know, finding it a little bit awkward to peel it. So, you know, do it for them.
It's messy as well for them, isn't it?
It
when
is
they have to do
messy.
things themselves,
and it's very time limited. So they, you know, they want to get out to play. They don't want to eat. So, you know, we've got a whole array of things here. Obviously, lots and lots of colour.
This is lovely.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the vegetables, you know, sticks means that they're getting loads of vitamins and minerals, which is lovely, and it's all fresh.
Yeah.
In here, I've got some actual cheese sticks, which I've made, which is real cheese. And it's actually much cheaper or less expensive than buying the horrible cheese straws and everything.
Where would you get that?
This is just a cheese that I bought, and I've just chopped it up, put it in a container, put a lid on it so it doesn't dry out. Great snack, you know. We've got some couscous here where I've added, you know, just lots of colour again. It's got to look appealing.
Yeah.
It's got to
Look
look
yummy.
yummy.
What's the little black things in there?
Right, the little black things are lentils. Now these lentils are already prepared for you. You don't have to do all the soaking and the cooking and everything. They're ready to go. So that's, again, it cuts down time, but it's brilliant, you know, and again, you've got your vitamins and your minerals in there. I've put a little bit of red pepper in there just to give it a little bit of colour and a bit of excitement. There's a bit of mint. You know, everything I've done here, wraps, lovely. You know, different breads you can use. You know, I've got wholemeal pita breads, so those are really good. Wraps you can get also in brown bread. If you could get the kids to wrap them up the night before, that's great, you know, because then they feel ownership of it, you know. The little cherry tomatoes, lovely.
Kids love those, don't they?
They do.
Yeah. My dad used to grow them in the garden. I was always going around picking them, and stuff. Was really straight off the vine, so it was really nice.
Yeah, I mean, they're great, aren't they? Because they can just, you know, pop them in.
Yeah.
And
now, most with things like this, normally we'd want to dip them in something. Or
Well, I've made a little smoked mackerel dip there. That might be a little bit strong, but you could do a cream cheese one.
Yeah.
You could use natural yogurt. You could just, you know, again, if the child has something specific that they like, you know, hummus. You know, lots of children like hummus.
Yeah. That's surprising, isn't it? I love hummus, but it's surprising that kids do as well.
Well, again, if they're introduced to it at an early age, then they're going to like it. And if they see you eating it, they're going to like it as well. Yeah. It's very much a pleasing thing. Here I've got some lovely green beans, which I've just cooked off, which are lovely, and some broccoli. You know, there's just, you know, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, there are things on the market as well now. These are little carrot
I love
chips.
these. I just saw these now. I mean, I didn't even know they had carrot chips before. So these are like really such a clever idea.
It's still better than crisps. You know?
What's in a typical lunchbox, do you think? Like for kids that aren't, dare I ask?
I think it's very sad that there are a lot of schools that don't feel strong enough to say no chocolate, no chocolate bars, no crisps. There's too much of all of that. There's too much of everything being packaged. You know, what happened, you know, to the good Tupperware? What's wrong with that? You know, that's homemade.
Yeah.
That's something to be proud of, I think. So there is just too much of the chocolates and the sweets. And of course, it has a knock-on effect to the children in the afternoon because they start to get a little bit, you know, tired, lethargic, not quite what they were, and grumpy.
I remember getting milk in school. And
Yeah,
milk bottles.
yeah.
I always remember
I
having
think that is only down to the very young ones now.
Yeah.
And also they get fruit, but they only get fruit until they're about 6 or 7 years old. And again, it depends if it's ripe. You know, fruit really matters if it's ripe. You know, it's got to be delicious. You know, these ones are interesting because these are little
fabulous. Now, these are actually homemade.
They are all homemade. Yes, yes.
Look at that. Oh, it smells delicious.
So you've got little mini quiches there.
Yeah.
So they're a meal in themselves.
Now you said you made the pastry yourself
Yes.
as well. Wow.
Yeah. That's only short crust pastry, but again, very, very easy. And we've decorated those because Christmas is coming, so we've made a little Christmassy theme. But then the other ones are little pasties. Yeah. So they're just little mini pasties. And again, if the children...
So that could replace a sandwich, couldn't it, for example?
Yeah, very much so, yeah. And of course, if the children have made those with you the night before, pop them in, you know, a container and they're ready to go the next morning. And they will eat it. If they've made it themselves, they will eat it.
Now, how easy is it to make this stuff?
Very easy. Very easy.
How long would you say it takes, like, to do something? Maybe something like this?
I mean, the thing that you can do is if you're going to have a pasta salad in the evening, you just make a little bit extra for the next day.
Yeah.
You know? Or you're going to have a couscous salad, you know, you just make that portion, the extra portion for the children. You know, or you put your mind to, you know, to a wrap or something. Or, you know, in here we've got tuna and mayonnaise and we put some sweet corn and things in. Takes literally a few minutes just to knock that up.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, it's making the effort. But if you think about going to the shops, having to whiz round it with your trolley and everything else, having to pick everything up, you might have the kids with you, it might be quite stressful.
Is it good to shop with the kids, do you think, for food? Or?
I think it's a very good idea if you talk to them. I think it's a very bad idea.
If you talk to them.
If you don't talk to them and you wheel around getting stressed out, you really need to. I mean, children only learn from what you tell them. So if I pick this up and I go, oh, yum, you know, a yellow pepper, shall we have that tonight? The child is engaged and the child will go, yellow pepper. Great, we'll have a yellow pepper. So engaging them.
So it's all the enthusiasm, isn't it? How you talk. It's like, oh, here's an avocado or whatever. It's
exactly. Even choosing bread, you know, even choosing any of the snacks. It's really important.
What is that one there, the brown?
Oh, well, this is a malt loaf.
That's got quite a strong taste, though, hasn't it? Malt.
Yeah, but that would be your sweet thing. That would be your sweet thing. But it's, again, better than chocolate. And it's better than lots of other things you could use. So, and children like it. It's quite chewy.
Yeah.
So they like that because they can chew on it. You know, and here we've got some mango, dried mango. They like this as well. This is quite chewy.
Yeah.
But
it's
the
like
main
having sweets, isn't it, really? It's like replacing, instead of your wine gums and your fruit pastels, you can have that instead.
Absolutely. And all these recipes are on our website. Right. So, you know, go to the website, it tells you exactly how to do them and gives you ideas about different things. And I mean, even here, these are little raisins. And what I've done is I've actually soaked them so that they're not really dry.
Just in water?
Just in water, and they've just plumped up.
Yeah.
And so for a little one, you know, just to have that in your mouth is much nicer than the really hard ones, you know, and that makes a big difference in itself. So, but it doesn't take long. But it's here. You've got
it's
to,
just
you've
that
got
effort
to plan
and just
it.
to organise yourself, isn't it, really? And tell us about some of this stuff I haven't seen before. So this is...
these are all amazing things, I mean, they're all trying to make your life easier. So Merchant Gourmet is brilliant. They've come out with a huge range of wonderful things which are basically in a packet but ready to use. Right. So for instance, in the old days, do you remember sort of lentils and pulses? You had to soak them and boil them.
Boiling them for ages.
And wild rice to years and years and years. Well, now they've done everything for us. So, you know, it just has taken the pressure off. Right. So it is probably, you know, a 15 or 20 minutes rather than, you know, your 2 to 3 hours and planning ahead.
That's really good.
It is really good. And the supermarkets are trying, but it's too easy to go down the aisle where they've done it all for you and it's in a package and it's full of fat, sugar and salt. So, you know, even though we wouldn't say that a pasty or even, you know, a quiche is very good for you, this is still all fresh. Yeah. So it's much better.
Much better. Okay. And what about sort of experimenting with foods and things? Is that good to do with children, do you think?
Definitely, definitely. I mean,
you know,
you were talking earlier. No, but I mean, tasting things, smelling things, feeling things. I mean, food. I mean, children, babies love to put things in their mouths, you know, because they're, you know, you're so sensory there. You know, it's really important. So it is great to introduce them to as many different you know, colours, textures, smells. Some smells are good, some smells are not so good. And it's really important because when you cook, you use your senses, you know, and you need to know if the milk is not okay, you know, or the meat is bad, you know, so your nose is terribly important. So, and also I always say to children, which I think is great fun, is you eat with your eyes. And they go, no, we don't eat with our eyes, we eat with our mouths. And you go, but look at that plate. Yeah. If it looks yummy,
they'll
the tummy rumbles and goes, that's the one for me.
But tell us as well some of the dishes that you actually teach at your school. What's some of the classics that you do?
Well, we do everything from fresh. So a pizza is one of the most popular ones. So we make the dough from fresh.
The kids
as well.
make the dough as
well?
wow.
Absolutely. Get messy. Yeah. So we teach them about dough. We teach them about pastry. Making a pizza means, you know, it's not unhealthy because lots and lots of fruits and vegetables on it. Yeah. Fruits being obviously tomatoes, peppers and all of that. We do pastries with them, we do pasta dishes, we do stir fries, we do very multicultural food from all over the world. We'll have some students, you know, who will actually come in and tell us how they make stuff. Oh, it's brilliant.
And do their kids take the food home to the parents as well?
Yeah, we always try and have a message that goes home with them because that's so important. I mean, even if they've eaten half of it, half of it goes home, and the recipe always goes home with them as well. So it is really, really important. So everything we cook is almost not edible beforehand and then becomes edible. Right. So, you know, a bag of flour in front of you, can't do much with it, but by the time you've made bread, it's terribly exciting.
Make bread too.
Yeah.
Oh, that's like, I don't even know how to make bread for the kids now.
It's exciting, and of course it smells fantastic. You know, and you can, all the senses go up.
Great. It's lovely. I mean, this looks fantastic. As I said, it smells lovely as well. Thank you so much, Julian. All the best with the school as well.
Thank you. Well, do look at the website, and you know, if you want to support the charity, you know, it would be fantastic. And you know, my message to everybody is let's get all children cooking.
Definitely. I agree with that. Okay, thank you so much.
Pleasure.
All right, we have reached the end of the show, but do join me again on Friday where we'll be talking about how to look youthful. So that's going to be a great show as well, very interesting. And if you do want more information about anything that we've talked about today and all the websites of our guests as well, you can visit chrissybshow.tv. Everything's going to be up there, all the contact details as well. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Bye-bye for now.
And I mean, I've just seen around your building there are certain snacks that you promote and certain snacks that you discourage. You know, such as oh,
No, go ahead. Just keep going.
right, let's do that again. And why do you think cooking is important?
Or else you die if you don't eat.
And if people do want to find out more information about the Kids Cookery School, where can they go to?
It's very simple. It's the Kids Cookery School at... Oh, that's sorry.